And here we are live, broadcasting, streaming across Australia, syndicated across a couple of different podcast platforms, including REB, Tom Panos, Phillip Tarrant, Real Estate Exposed, Buzzard Edition. Second introduction for today, Tom, after a small technical glitch. So welcome back, everyone that were tuned in, and to others who just got the update, got the notification for Tom that we are live and streaming. Welcome, Tom. How you going?
Fantastic. And the only thing I love about pre-recorded things like the podcast that people are going to be listening to is the fact that they don't get to hear the first blooper, right? But as you can see, we've got an audience building up here. I'm fascinated. I reckon, Phil, in the world of real estate, you have to be the closest person connected to the government workings, right? Because you're a media organization, and you're a media organization that is specific to real estate and a number of other communities. But man, you're leaving this and you're heading to Canberra to listen to Anthony Albanese. It's Albanese or Albanese? I never get that right.
Albanese. Mate, I reckon he'd be okay if you call him Albo.
Albo. I actually was not only have I sold his house, when I was working at News Corp, I went up into a lift. Get ready for this. In the same lift, it was because politicians always used to walk into News Corp at Holt Street, right? So we're going up the same lift, me, Hockey, and Albanese. And get ready. No one said a word to each other. Very quiet. Hey, listen, what are you going to get? Why are you going to Canberra?
Well, so they've got the budget response dinner, the reply from the opposition on this evening. So it happens every year. This being an election year, a little bit pointier. The government comes out and says, here's the budget. This is what we're doing. This is the reasons why we're doing it. This is what it means for you, Mr. and Mrs. Australian. Then the opposition gets a crack at responding to it in a public setting. It's normally televised as well, where they'll just contest it and pull it apart and tell you all the reasons why it's wrong and what else they should be doing. So this politicking we're firmly into this cycle. The Prime Minister yesterday wasn't too clear exactly when the election was going to be. He just said it's going to be in May. So expect it. That's only a couple of months away. So now we're into the pointy end of this election cycle. So good to go down there, spend some time with some of the backbenchers as well, get an understanding, a read from them. Typically when you sort of navigate politics, the backbenchers are the ones who will normally tell you exactly what's going on because their commentary and their views and their pointy is not as sanitized as what you find the front bench. So you get some good intel chatting to them. But I've been watching Tom since Tuesday when the budget was handed down, or it was delivered and handed down. I get absorbed by this stuff. Funnily enough, I was actually having a Chinese dinner with my water polo team at the point the budget was there. So I didn't sort of sit there watching on TV for once. I just reviewed it on my phone after it. And, mate, it's a pretty safe budget, not a lot in there. I'm always thinking, what does this mean? What does this mean for real estate? What does this mean for real estate sector? What does this mean for real estate agents? What does it mean for property investors? 1 in 8 people, Tom, somehow are connected with property in Australia professionally. So it is a big deal. Property did make an appearance in the budget, but nothing too overt. I think the Liberal government, the government or coalition government is trying to chase some of those votes, maybe from the traditional Labor cohort. They've called it a working class budget. I think the front page of the great paper, The Telegraph, Tom, called him the working class man or working class plan, I think it was the headline. So they're going after those votes, trying to get Aussies into property earlier and sooner. That was really the headline information coming out around real estate, expanding out the first home buyers scheme to try and make it easier to get into the market faster. I think 2% for single parents, 5% for families or couples within a particular threshold is all you need to do to save a deposit. The government will guarantee the rest of it. You don't have to pay lender's mortgage insurance. So this is the play to try and make housing, inverted commas, more affordable. But a lot of the commentators, and I tend, if I want to package myself up as a commentator as well, to agree with them that it's probably not going to help with affordability. It might help you get in there sooner. And getting in sooner is a good thing, by the way, because the sooner you're in property, if it's an upwards market, it means that you're making money, or at least a capital growth play. But you're going to have more people competing, Tom, and this is a big point. You're going to have more people competing for property in a particular price point. There's a lot of P's there, which I think is going to put upward pressure on prices. And this is what a lot of the commentators are saying. What do you reckon?
It's a hard one because, like the short sentence I read from Scott Morrison, he said, the way that we're going to solve the housing problem in Australia is that we make it easy for tenants to become a buyer, right? And sounds great. Nice short one-liner. Everyone loves a one-liner. I love one-liners. But you turn around and you say, hang on a second. If we get 10 more people to become a buyer, that's 10 more bidders at an auction. That's 10 more bidders putting offers in on properties, which basically means more competition equals price rises. So I don't know the answer. I just don't have such a great understanding of macroeconomics to understand what it all means. But Phil, it's very obvious that real estate, and while this is going on, I'd like to get a sense from our audience that listens, those that are watching live, who's going to win the election, Labor or Liberal? In the comments there. I just want to get a gut feeling, because I don't know about you, Phil, and I know that you like to not be too specific with your choices, or not publicly at least. All I can say to you, Phil, there is growing consensus talking to, various agents, strong agents, probably agents that are in the top 10 REB, that are saying to me, I have already factored in that there is going to be a Labor government in a few months' time. And as they're coming in right now, we got there. Ingrid is saying the Libs. We got another Labor, right? We got another Labor, right? Another Labor, right? What do we got here? Another Labor. Not ScoMo, right?
Donkey vote.
Labor. Look at this, Phil, mate. And don't forget, we got a bit of an audience here that is biased towards the property sector. Could go either way. Hey, Ben, you should go have dinner with Phil. All righty.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to report, Tom. On Monday, we're going to be, the Market Intelligence business connected with Momentum. Momentum Intelligence is going to be doing its big election polling again, understanding what those policies that are important post-budget, so we can compare it to what we did prior. That's all going to be happening next week. So I highly encourage everyone in the real estate industry, have your voice. What are the things that are important to you? Which way are you considering voting right now? How sure you are you're going to vote that way? Who your preferred leader is? All this sort of stuff. And we'll share that information back with the industry when we get a chance on. But, mate, the jury is absolutely out at the moment in terms of how this is going to fall. But we only need to think about the last time around, and how the media would have you thinking it's going to fall one way and it actually goes the other way. Labor last time around was an absolute shoe-in with Bill Shorten there at the helm. And at the 11th hour, it all fell apart. And Scott Morrison got up talking about or saying that the quiet Australian, as in those people who aren't too politically active, but they just want a nice, happy, safe future, voted the particular way. Whether or not that's going to go the same way. Environmentally, here in Australia, there's a lot of issues right now. COVID-19, we're navigating through it, but as we speak, Tom, and I was going to ask you off air, but I'll ask on air, mate. Byron Bay is about to go underwater. It is underwater. It's Lismore again. He's getting absolute smashed. They're talking about flood levels at 12 meters. All the levees are broken. Northern Rivers is getting hit again, mate. And this is hard. It's hard to contend with when we're in an election cycle where everyone is looking towards the government, going, "What are you going to do now?" Irrespective of who the government is, you're probably going to have these same problems. So can't get too absorbed in it. Anyway, how's Byron going, mate?
Look, it's the main area of Byron that flooded is the main street, the street that everyone would know, the street that everyone goes out to, the pubs, the Northern Hotel, all the great restaurants, Byron Fresh. That old street flooded, and it flooded not because there's some river overflow or that the beaches overflow. It flooded because it was just a lot of rain called flash flooding at the one time, and it just happened so quickly. But for most people I've spoken to, they're okay. There have been a few real estate offices which are on that main road, Phil, and they have been impacted. I've got a wonderful neighbour that looks after my property, and Fortunately, that's been unaffected. I mean, I was planning to go there this weekend, but I'm gonna hold off. But Phil, this is really interesting because all of a sudden there have been people that have never cared about climate change, right? And all of a sudden, over the last 4 or 5 weeks, with what's happened in Lismore and all the rains across, Queensland and the Northern Rivers, people are sort of saying, hang on a second, is there something in this? Why has this happened 2 times so quickly when it's 1 time in 1,000 years? Do you think that climate change, I know you spoke about it last time on the things that people cared about in election. Do you think climate change is going to play a part in voters?
Yes, I think it will do. And they've got something very tangible to orchestrate conversation and discussion around climate change, something very visible, something very visceral as well, very emotive. Whether or not, and I'm not a climate change expert or scientist at all. I'm an interested observer. Whether or not these floods are a result of climate change or not, I don't want to have that debate. But that said, a lot of people are linking this changing weather patterns, and even the Prime Minister has come out saying Australia's got to get used to more extreme weather events, climate change or otherwise. It's going to happen. So for the property sector, for whether you're investing in property or an owner occupied, or you're a real estate agent or involved within it, this should be something you should be considered. There's a lot of places right now on the east coast of Australia which would be deemed to be prestige properties, beachfront prestige properties that are under threat. Will they be a viable dwelling in 50 years' time as a result of these extreme weather events and potentially climate change? There's some areas we were looking personally up on a beachfront up on the Central Coast recently. We put an offer in for a place and then we pulled out of it once I got some geotechs to go in there and have a look and let me know what's going on with it with coastal erosion. Wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. This is the changing face of real estate and the responsibilities and accountabilities for people that operate inside of real estate to ensure that they're dealing with vendors and they're dealing with buyers in the right way, because, Tom, these places will disappear at some point.
Yeah, well said. Phil, quick question. You said last time the election, everyone got it wrong. So polls can be inaccurate. People can change their minds right at the last week. What do you reckon in those final days of the election? What do you think are the things that keep people up at night that is going to swing it to one government? Do you think at the end of the day, if you turn around and say at a high level, is it going to be about money, net worth, financial security, or is it going to be about health, social services, and just being able to live better for the average person? What do you reckon it's going to be?
It's good question, Tom. And whether or not I'm in the right position to offer any true commentary around it, but at a personal level, the way I see it, it's pretty simple. Running up to an election, there is a lot of discussions around stuff which may be fringe or not necessarily imperative. I think as you get closer to the election, people start really crystallizing what does this actually mean to me? How does this affect and impact my rice bowl? And that's what happens on the days running up to and on election day. People think how important really, as an example, how important really is climate change to me in the big scheme of things today, tomorrow, and the next day? Yes, it is an environmental impact, and it is shaping the nature of Australia. But is that going to mean anything tomorrow? Can I pay my mortgage tomorrow? Am I going to have a job tomorrow? Is Australia going to be safe and secure tomorrow? And I think that is, and I'm sure you've got a term for it, but that's the point where all of those ideas and thoughts become absolutely crystallized, and Australians will vote on that basis. Now, when you look at this election, even compared to the last election or the one prior to it, geopolitics and security, I think, is at the fore. And I think more Australians now are aware of the changing nature of the world that we live in. Australia, its own backyard, the Indo-Pacific, tensions with countries to the north, China, for example. What does it actually mean? And people are starting to think about, what does this mean for my rice bowl? We've gone through this global pandemic. You only need to look at some of these supply chain issues right now. It is impacting people's lives, i.e. we can't get stuff into Australia. And if we are able to get into Australia, it's costing a lot more money. Therefore, how am I going to live? How will this affect my rice bowl? And this is what it all comes back to. And they've tried to address it in the budget this week. One of the, if you call winners and losers, one of the winners was motorists, where they've gone, you know what, the cost of living, this spiraling, hiking inflation, how bad is it in context? How does that compare to wage growth? And I think they're pretty much saying the RBA is going out. There's probably not going to be that much wage growth this year. But this cost of living, this notion of cost of living, perceived or otherwise, they've come out and pretty much gone, you know what, we'll help everyone out. It's a 6-month initiative. We'll take a bit of a haircut on the tax that we take out of fuel, the fuel excise thing. So they're going, look, we're going to take that out, and hopefully they're going to pass that on down into the motorists. Big issue is, and it's NRMA today was saying this, is that how do you know whether the service stations are actually passing on those savings to the to the actual motorist or the consumer? But they're combating, again, this notion of cost of living. What does it mean for my rice bowl? So at a point in time, as we get close to the election, people will really frame that in a way that will really determine and dictate the way they vote. And I think we saw that last time around when the quiet Australian voted. So they mightn't be the political class, and not be the, inverted commas, educated class. Typically what you see on TV, typically what you read in the papers, for people who are highly invested in the outcomes of elections, lobbyists or organisations who have some sort of business benefit from it, that is a process. Or those who are highly geared towards politics. Most Australians, Tom, don't really care too much, right? You know, they're just going, I want to get on with life. But one of the beautiful things about Australia, and we have a pure democracy here in some sense, and some people have sort of spoken about this before, is that the vote typically is reflective of what the nation thinks. In America, the fringe elements who are interested in politics, and particularly those that go out and vote, your middle American doesn't normally rock up on election day because it's not compulsory. In Australia, voting is compulsory. Everyone has a say. Hence the reason why our elections are a lot closer, because you do have these polarized sides of things. So Australia will vote in May. And I think at that point in time, closer to it, they're really going to understand what does it mean for them, and therefore they'll vote the way that they do. That's my view.
Okay. Well, listen, Phil, I am mindful of time. As I said to you prior, you've got to get on a flight. All I'm going to encourage every person, particularly those that are in the service industry, real estate, mortgage broking, that follow us, go onto REB, and just, the journos have already done the interpretation of the budget. I think the most useful thing that you can do at the moment, if, for instance, you're a real estate agent, is get an understanding of it, ring up your clients. I can tell you, Phil, I spoke to an agent this morning, has picked up 2 listings that were going to come on the market in a few months' time. He rang up, he said, hey, listen, I've just gone through the budget, and I am letting you know there appears that there could be a Labor government. There is talk of interest rates going up. If I were you, I'd come on now. I think it's safer to do it. And he's brought 2 listings, fast-tracked them onto the market, because he knows right now there is buyers, and he knows that there's some sort of certainty, and he knows that rates are at a lower number than most likely they're going to be in the future. One would have to agree they'll probably go up, not down. Phil, that's what I think the good ones are doing. They're actually interpreting data, and they're helping their clients make decisions. Phil, I'd love to, next week, I'd love to speak to you about your time in Canberra, your interactions, at not only listening to the response from Albo, but also the conversations you have with backbenchers, the feeling, what it's like. I don't know what it is. I'm one of these guys that is a bit of a Canberra, loves to go behind the scenes to see what life's like. I even ask the Uber drivers and the taxi drivers when I'm in Canberra, what are these guys like? What are these girls like? And I've got to tell you, Phil, they tell me that they order a lot of booze on Uber coming when they're there that week. Anyway, that's another side issue.
Mate, the ground truth, Tom, and that's how I like to get my info as well, get boots on the ground. One thing I would point out around the budget, which was my interest, so a lot of it's around housing affordability, right? How do you get Aussies in properties and make housing more effective? They've flagged, I think the New South Wales government has come out to the federal government pretty much going, you need to have a look at tax breaks for property investors. I think there's sort of 50% discount with capital gains tax. Maybe something will happen with that. They're pretty much going, because that incentive is there, it means you have more property investors in the market at that price point where most first-home buyers are probably going to be buying or trying to get the benefits from these expanded incentives. So whether or not they're going to have a look at that, who knows? But that means for property investors, You're not getting those big discounts should you choose to sell a property after 12 months. Speak to your accountant what the ramifications of that would be, but red flag for me.
All righty, Phil Tarrant, thank you so much. Have a safe flight. Keep those masks on. You can still catch COVID on planes, you know. You're flying Qantas, aren't you? You got no choice. You got to wear it. All righty. Thanks a lot. Everyone, have a great week. Phil, we look forward to hear the Canberra summary next week.